So, greetings and good evening. Welcome to the 63rd episode of Analytics for Talent Management for IT Services Company. We are very privileged and lucky to have a wonderful speaker with us, Anuja Ramdasi. She's the head of internal audit at Persistent Systems Limited. The Analytics Wednesday series is brought to you by SAMA Audit Systems and Softwares Private Limited, and it is supported by the Government of Canada Trade Commissioner Service. Today's session, right, is a very interesting topic. And before I introduce the speaker, Anuja Ramdasi, I'd like to just take a minute and talk to you about SAMA Audit Systems and Softwares Private Limited. For all of you who've attended in the past, this would be a bit of a recap, but we have been in the space of tool solution services for audit analytics solutions. We have Caseware IDEA. We have working paper management solution for financial auditors in the sense of Caseware working papers, legal compliance management solutions for Lex Comply. And we also have a continuous control monitoring solution, ALISA from Tier 1 Financial Solutions. So a complete basket bouquet of tools and solutions for auditors, accountants, and investigators. And we've been in the space for the last 24 years. Now, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce our speaker for this evening, Anuja Ramdasi. Anuja Ramdasi is the head of internal audit at Persistent Systems Limited. She's a chartered accountant, a certified fraud examiner from the US. She has over 17 years of progressive experience in the areas of risk management, internal audit, corporate governance, and compliance. A lot of consulting experience in audit and assurance across multinationals like Unilever, Wipro, Tata Motors, and BMC Software in Pune. She has, over the last decade, after moving to industry, been associated with the IT multinationals and is recognized for her understanding and acumen of the challenges and opportunities faced in ITES industry and services. In her current role, she's the global head of internal audit for Persistent Systems Limited. She's also an active member of the board of governance of the Pune Audit Club of the Institute of Internal Auditors of India. She's a regular speaker and contributor at various professional forums like the Institute of Internal Auditors and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. She's engaged with Symbiosis University in Pune for selection and mentoring of students for their 2 years Masters in Banking and Finance program since the last 4 years. So once again, we're very, very fortunate to have a very experienced, learned speaker. And Anuja, with that brief introduction, I'll have even Satishji chip in towards in between and towards the end and give his thoughts also. Over to you. I'll just make you the presenter. Wish you a great presentation.
Sure. Thanks, Jairam.
Yeah, you're the host.
Yeah. Just let me know once the screen is visible.
Yes, please. It's visible.
It is. Okay. Hello and good evening, everyone. And, before I begin, let me applaud Jairam, Deepji, and the entire SAMA Audit team for this effort. He mentioned that it is the 63rd episode, so it takes really a lot. That means it's going on for more than a year now, and it definitely takes a lot to keep up the momentum and keep up coming with new and different topics, and especially a topic, a common thread like analytics, I think, which is very, very key, not only to internal auditors, but also to decision makers, also to fraud risk assessors. And so, I mean, you name it, and analytics is something that is a key in everything that a corporate indulges into. So my applaud to you, Jairam and Deepji and the team for this. With that, let's begin with this today's session. The topic that I'm going to speak on is going to be analytics for talent management. Now, why talent management? Because as Jairam mentioned in his introduction, I specialize in the IT industry, and for the IT industry, talent or human resources or the people are nothing but everything when it comes to an IT industry. So the entire gamut of success of an IT industry is in hardcore talent management. So definitely analytics for talent management is something very, very important when it comes to IT industry. While we are going to speak about IT industry, and I've tried to keep the entire presentation as as practical as possible from what I have learned in my journey, from Persistent, from my earlier organizations, from my peers. A lot of it, as you would identify with, need not essentially be only about the IT industry. It can definitely have, its hands and legs into other industries as well. So I hope that this benefits all the audience, irrespective of the industry, and that's the whole objective. Of course, the examples could be from the IT industry, but I'm sure every person using data analytics is going to be able to resonate with this. With that, let's get started. Yeah. So primarily, I will be talking about what do we understand by a talent management framework. As I said, since we are going to specifically talk about IT industry.
Anuja, we seem to have lost you. Your screen is frozen.
What talent allocation and utilization analytics means, and talent development and retention analytics means. Because to me, these are the three key pillars, amongst other things, of where talent management, core talent management is all about. Then we'll also look at.
I think
Jairam, we have lost her.
we've lost Anuja. I think we'll just give her. Yeah, she's back. Anuja, you're back with us. You can let me make you the host. Let me make you the host again.
Sorry for that. There's some unstable connection at my end.
Don't worry. We've made you the host, Anuja.
Sure. Sorry for that.
Share your screen once again. No, don't worry. All a part of online webinars. Murphy's Law.
It's like the day you decide that I want everything to be prim and proper is the day when everything decides to.
Yes.
Right. All right. So coming back to this, yeah. So, and last but not the least, I would also like to talk about challenges and opportunities. I mean, challenges while making informed decisions with talent analytics. What are the things that can go wrong? What are the things that on which effective analytics is dependent on? And hence, also, what are the opportunities that are available to make the most of analytics and make more informed business decisions? So that is largely going to be what I'm going to be speaking about in the next 30-35 minutes. All right. As I said, talent management framework. Now, I think I already spoke about this, that it's people that create value and ultimately revenue for an organization, especially in IT industry. But, given the current times and given the current age, I think all the industries have adopted this, that without talent, without people, business objectives, turning the business strategies and business objectives into business results is almost impossible. That's the importance, and I cannot stress more on it, on the importance of talent management. Essentially, in an IT industry, talent management is a strategic business function. Unlike a typical HR function, as it is most easily referred to as, for an IT industry, it is more appropriately referred to as a people and organization development function. So it is essentially a strategic function, a business partner to all the activities that happen in an IT industry. And that is the reason, especially in an IT industry, talent management is of key priority. All right. Then I was speaking about, what are the different talent management frameworks that are available. And this is something that one can just Google and find out right from the basic talent management framework, which talks about, and I have chosen the three most meaningful ones, the three most appropriate representations of what are the different kinds of talent management frameworks that are there. One which talks about the basic components of talent management, some of the ones which we are going to talk about. Then what is the purpose of having a good talent management, and how purpose driven it should be? What are the objectives that get met with a proper talent management framework? And last but not the least, which you see on the third, is an integrated talent management framework, which is a much more complex structure, so to speak, where we start right from hiring, sourcing, onboarding, right up to we go up to a succession planning. So it could involve components like compensation and benefits, skill enhancements, as I said, right up to succession planning. So it's multiple frameworks in talent management. As far as talent management analytics is concerned, what I have done is I have tried to study these multiple frameworks and arrive at what to me makes most sense and most simplified version of talent management, which organizations, internal auditors, people making business decisions essentially need to concentrate on. If we get these three things done right, I think we have covered most of the part, especially in analytics parlance. So to begin with, let's first talk about attracting the right talent. Naturally, visibility into what do we want to achieve, and we are going to talk about each of these three aspects in detail as we move along. So talent acquisition or attracting the right talent, that is where we will see how analytics and how informed decisions can help us help the business thrive. Then we will talk about talent allocation and utilization, the most key component of talent management process, because here is where lies our ability to utilize the existing talent rapidly and effectively. Because employees on bench or talent on bench is something of a big no-no when it comes to the IT industry. And last but not the least is how do we keep our talent engaged? How do we retain our existing talent? How do we develop and upskill our existing talent that sits in the organization? So if these three things are done right, I think a large part of the talent management portion is covered, is done right. And we'll talk about each one of these three in detail as we move ahead. Okay. Coming to talent acquisition analytics. Now, what I have done is I have broken up talent acquisition analytics for the sake of, or for the ease of this discussion, into 3 to 4 different parts. The first one being is how analytics or what kind of information can help us make good leadership hiring decisions. What kind of analytics can be used for leadership hiring decisions? How talent acquisition analytics is important when it comes to campus hiring, when it comes to on-site hiring, on-site and offshore hiring. These are some of the concepts very, very regularly and frequently used in IT services industry. When I say on-site hiring, I mean the hiring that happens for the on-site or overseas locations. And then last but not the least, a large chunk of the acquisition happens in the lateral hiring. So we will look at each one of these very, very quickly, and we'll try and understand how analytics is important in each of these areas. Now, this was something, the diagram that you see here, and we are going to first talk about leadership hiring, how decisions can be made, good decisions can be made using analytics. This was a picture or a pictorial representation of how a standard or a typical traditional org structure looks like, and how it should ideally look like if we wanted to make good business decisions, if we wanted the business to thrive. So what will it take from going from a traditional org structure to an org structure yielding results? Very simple things. A lot of these things are actually done. Okay, each of us, all organizations do have quantifiable business goals. at the beginning of every year, an organization talks about which geography do they want to grow, how have been the past trends, how do they want to, which business verticals do they want to grow? Do they want to grow in a BFSI sector or a data science sector or a telecom sector for that matter? So all these kind of discussions do happen at a strategic level or at a board level or at a leadership level. Translating them into our own trends, into our own analysis, into what kind of leaders will we want, analyzing this kind of information into what is our current geo-wise business leadership availability, which geography do we want to grow how much. This kind of analysis definitely should be used while making leadership hiring decisions. A lot of this is available in the form of market intelligence data, existing market players, existing talent availability in the geos. We do have a lot of vendor partners at overseas geographies where this kind of information is available, and our own internal data that feeds in how do we want to grow, breaking down into smaller business unit wise goals. I think these are the kind of things today a lot of organizations are not paying as much heed or as much required attention to. If that is done, leadership hiring can be made most effective through these kind of analytics. Next, we move on to campus and on-site hiring, as I was talking about. In the campus hiring process, and this is my own, absolutely my own example, how I would have done in my previous organization. Now, for campus hiring, typically what happens is you will see that a lot of hiring happens haphazard. Not a lot of data is being maintained very well. But if the data that is available is maintained, and it cannot be built overnight, none of these examples that I would be sharing today can be built overnight. These are the kind of databases that one needs to keep creating. One needs to get a buy-in from the organization, from the internal auditors, from the MIS team, and kind of build this data, analyze this data in the right way. So if we study the retention and billability trends of from where have we hired, what has been the offer to joining ratio, what are our business goals and plans? Do we have such projects in pipeline where we can actually replace freshers? We can have fresher concentrated pyramids. These are the kind of things, these are the kind of analysis and analytics that ought to be done before formalizing or formulating a campus hiring program. When it comes to on-site hiring, there are a lot of trends that are indicators of what can go right and what can go wrong. For example, what is my aspirational full-time to contractors ratio for an on-site location, for an on-site project? Within my full-time employees, what is the ratio that I want to have for local hires vis-a-vis visa holders, that is people who are sent from India on deputation? What are the skill sets I'm looking at? Now, will it make more sense if I have a center of excellence located centrally somewhere? Or will it make sense if I keep on having project-based hiring? So these kind of things, a lot of analytics based on the data that is easily available within the organization can help us make some extremely informed decisions when it comes to hiring. The larger chunk, as I was mentioning, is about lateral talent hiring. Now, here there is no dearth of data that is available. I have only picked up a few, 4 or 5 examples. And there is no dearth of, as I said, there's no dearth of data that is available and analytics that can help us do multiple things, right from the recruitment performance to the vendor performance to what is the sourcing of recruitment that is most appropriate, that's working the most well for us as an organization. Where can we get a minimum turnaround time? How do I decide that which vendor can get me skill sets or can get me resources for which particular business sector for mine? So all these kind of data is gathered over a period of time. And last but not the least, it's specifically in this case is the ERPs that we use, the kind of applications that are available today have no limit to what kind of data churning, what kind of analytics information can be made available. It is all up to us to make the most of these data, make the most of what decisions do we want to take, especially when it comes to lateral talent hiring, because this becomes the biggest chunk of hiring when it comes to talent management. Now, candidate profiles. Now, this there is another classic example that I have here, that typically what happens is candidates that come into the system and that get rejected or that get blacklisted or that also have to have a check on the non-solicit, non-compete kind of compliance clauses with our customers or with our competitors. Now, how does one really keep a track of all of this? How does one know that what is right, what is wrong, where are we being non-compliant? The analytics that can be derived in form of regular reports or kind of raising of red flags. These are the kind of things that can help us to make more informed lateral talent hiring decisions. Specific to talent hiring, especially in the IT industry, is a lot prone to employment frauds or recruitment frauds, as I would call it. And a lot of us would have seen some of these very, very closely. So some of the data analytics that can help us in combating recruitment or employment frauds, I have listed down some of them here. If we can carry out an analysis on early exits, whether it indicates any pattern in terms of whether there is any kind of consensus or any kind of involvement of an insider, because you would see a pattern. But to see the pattern, you need to have data, you need to analyze the data on a very, very regular basis. Now, these are the kind of things that can help us or can actually operate as early red flags of fraud detection. Interviewer-wise select ratio. How many candidates were seen? How many got selected? How many are the outliers? Is there any nexus between a particular set of interviewer and recruiter combination to onboard a specific set of candidates? Now, these are the kind of things which, if analyzed and taken appropriate actions, raising of red flags, can help us avoid so many frauds that can happen, which are totally common when it comes to hiring or recruiting in an IT industry. You'll also see a lot of trends where you will be which can get established for early joiner cases. Now, as we all know, hiring is, especially in the current situation where everyone is facing attrition challenges, especially the IT industry, you would see that a lot of early joiner, you would see a trend where you have early joining offers, candidates providing counter offers and availing of joining bonuses. Now, if you study these and analyze these trends properly, you will also come to know that what are the possible frauds that can be perpetrating within an organization.
Anuja, we appear to have lost you again. Can you check your internet connection, please? Folks, let's just give Anuja about a few seconds. I think there's a technical problem at her end. Yeah, I think she'll join back and we should be on our way again.
You'll have to make her the host.
Yes, I'm just waiting for her audio to commence again. Hi, Anuja, are you with us? Anuja, are you able to receive me? We are. Yeah, your audio has just come on now. We're just able to hear you now. Oh, I think we've lost her again. Sorry for a bit of this technical outage, everyone. I think we should be able to resolve it soon.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, Anuja, I'm just making you the host. Anuja, if you feel the video is causing a bit of a data drain, you can even turn your video
Yes,
off and
that's
just
the
continue.
reason I've switched off the video
Sure,
for
sure,
a
that will
while.
be fine.
For a
That will
while.
be fine, please. Yeah. I've made you the host, Anuja. Over to you.
Hello.
Yeah, we are able to hear you, but we are not able to see your screen yet.
Is my screen visible?
No, not yet.
And am
not
I
yet.
audible again?
You're audible, but your screen is not visible. Let me just reclaim the host and make you the host again.
We lost her again.
Yeah, I believe
Hello,
she could be having a bit of a network outage, I guess.
Inconsistent.
Inconsistent network. Anuja, are you able to receive us? Can you try with a different internet connection, maybe hotspot? That could work, I guess. If you're using maybe the office or the home Wi-Fi, and you could try a different net connection. Satish, let me try getting on the phone and guiding her on the phone.
Yeah, sure.
Folks, just stay online. Don't leave yet. We'll just get Anuja back on a different network if we can. Anuja, can you hear us?
Yeah. Yes, I can. I
Okay.
can. I'm sorry for this. I don't know why my network is acting up.
Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
now we can see.
Now we can see your slide. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Anuja, just for her.
Yeah, sure. All right. Yeah, so that was about talent acquisition on multiple platforms, about leadership hiring, about campus hiring, lateral hiring, and so on and so forth. Let us look at talent allocation and utilization analytics, how analytics can help us.
Anuja, we are not able to hear you. We are able to see your screen, but we are not able to hear you.
We get the approvals that are required depending on what margins we are estimating, and then we actually
Anuja?
I think you'll have to talk to her separately.
Yeah, I'm just going to.
are there.
Anuja, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
You're breaking up very frequently. Can I request if you can switch from your maybe home Wi-Fi or office Wi-Fi to your hotspot or another internet connection? Is it possible? Because while we can see your screen, your audio is breaking up every now and then.
Yeah, is it better now? Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you, but just not sure if it's going to be consistent. Yeah, you can proceed. No problem. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, as I was mentioning, if we take a step back and look at a couple of levels which happen before all of this happens, if we look at how well have we made the talent demand estimates, how well have we studied the opportunity stages that are there, and if we analyze that, there we will see what are the indicators of the real problem statements that come into picture. For example, you may be able to see that there is a minimal or absolute no lead time between opportunity creation and the project start date. A lot of times what happens is that project projects get lost because it is assumed that the hiring has not been able to be done on time. But a lot of times it is important to analyze at what stage was the opportunity created, at what stage were the positions or the indents raised in the system, at what stage were the talent demand estimates made available, and how can we make better decisions, how can we make better demand estimates to improve the revenue, to improve the top line. Now, what is also important is that typically in a talent allocation stage, the internal resources, the first preference is always given to the internal resources. But a lot of times, because of the information not being available on these updated skill sets, we are not able to position or place these internal resources. An analysis, a beforehand analysis of what internal resource skill sets are available, what are the project release dates that are there. These are the kind of information and analysis that can help in making better decisions when it comes to meeting the talent demand estimates. A lot of times also what happens is that you end up recruiting or you end up deploying senior resources because you do not have, because of the original problem that you do not have the adequate lead time, and that can have a direct impact on the margins. These are some of the obvious real problem statements, very practical, which can be handled better by use of good talent management analytics. Talent utilization analytics. Now, talent utilization is something, you will find this as a key matrix in all the IT service industry, IT service companies. This is the heart and soul of an IT service company, of how a business is performing. A typical optimum utilization is expected to be around 80-85%, slightly higher on the higher side for on-site resources, because naturally they are costlier resources. Now, how data analysis can help here? Now, within the FTE utilization and contract consultant utilization, are we having proper benchmarks? Are we tracking or analyzing the utilization of these two resources separately? This is going to have a significant impact on the cost benefit analysis. Then studying the trends of planned pyramids versus actually deployed pyramid. Now, when you estimate margins, when you estimate the talent demand, you would have planned for something else. When you have actually deployed, because of multiple reasons, challenges that we saw, you would actually end up deploying a completely different pyramid. So throughout the course of the project, and not just at the beginning of the project, this kind of analysis is important. Moving even into the contract management or the contract clauses, specifically clauses like COLA, which is the cost of living adjustment. Now, if we ever look into the trends of when was the last billing rate revised in a particular project, in particular clients, or in particular MSAs, you will realize that a lot of times the billing rates go unchanged for quarter on quarter for years together. We do not even apply basic COLA clauses. Now, an analytics of all of these things can definitely help us improve our margins and make our profitability get better. Rotation of project deployment mix by replacing lateral resources with freshers. Now, this was something which I spoke about when I spoke about campus hiring or fresher hiring, that having a good analysis and an understanding of what are the projects in pipeline and whether we will be able to replace any lateral resources with freshers to optimize our profitability is another good talent management analytics activity. Talent development and retention. Just like the way talent management is important to an IT industry, naturally within talent management, L&D or employee engagement through L&D is a backbone of a good talent management program. So what are the different talent development matrices that play a key role in effective employee engagement and improving billability? Because at the end of the day, just like my CEO says, he always tells me, Anuja, you're auditing or you're giving me all the numbers and telling me how my L&D is operating effectively. It is good to know about Saraswati, but also tell me about Lakshmi. So we always joke about this, and we say that talent development or learning and development is important, but what is the most important factor is the return on investment that L&D is generating. Now, for that, how do we know what is the return on investment? Once again, analytics become of prime imperative. Maintaining database of employee development needs. Now, a classic example here is, all of us are aware that we do update or performance appraisals and a manager assessment feedback, and in that a typical column would be there which will talk about development needs and needs to undergo this training. It could be a soft skill training, it could be a leadership training, it could be a technical training. In the essence, somewhere it gets lost. Now this is a classic example of how this data can be collected, this data can be analyzed, grouped, regrouped, and actually used as an input of improving the employee development needs, of upskilling the employees, giving them what they need. This is actually a great tool for employee engagement and retention as well. It is a highly underrated analytical analytical tool, but definitely this analysis can give a lot of inputs in employee engagement and retention. L&D investment decisions, here where the Lakshmi comes in picture along with the Saraswati, that how many fresh hires are we planning? Do we really have that much capabilities? Do we have that much of assessment infrastructure? What are the licenses that we are going to procure? What are the investments that we are going to make in digital learning platforms? Now, how does all of this get used? Are we tracking the usability? Are we tracking the investments that are happening in this? What is the usability? Are we taking adequate feedback and tracking and understanding all of that? Another important part is a lot of clients in an IT industry ask for certifications like Azure certifications or AWS certifications, and these certifications come at a very high cost. Now, understanding the trend of how many already existing certified professionals are there in the organization, how many clients really ask for these certifications, how effectively are we able to deploy the certified candidates, and how many of them just use this certification as a training ground and move on. These are different kinds of analytics, very, very practical examples which play a key role in effective employee engagement. Talent retention, I think the less said the better, because the more I say it is going to be a never ending story. The great resignation and attrition is something that is grappling not only the IT industry, but all of us everywhere. So how attrition analytics can actually help us limit the impact for our organizations? Not all reasons for resignations are monetary. And once again, this I speak from experience. This I speak from things that I would have done in a lot of assignments and engagements that I have done. A lot of us assume that, especially at the leadership level, this becomes a common thought process that people are leaving because of higher salaries being offered. I'm not saying it's not true, but a deep dive into actually analyzing the reasons that the employees have quoted in the exit interviews can give us a very, very different flavor, can actually help us curb the actual exits. Are we going to be able to provide them a particular upskilling that they are expecting? Are we going to be able to provide them flexible work hours? Is that possible? Whether and some of these things actually we have actually deployed in Persistent as well, where we have now opened centers in tier 2 cities, not limiting only, and that's the need of the hour, right? But how did we come up with this decision? By a lot of analysis, by gathering a lot of data of where our employees are primarily centered, where have they moved into. For example, is opening a center in Indore going to make sense, Indore or Bhopal going to make sense, because a lot of our employees are sitting in these regions, and today we're working out of the Nagpur office or the Pune office. So which centers will be a cost benefit decision? How many employees are working out of these locations? These kind of extremely data driven information can help us take very sensible decisions. Last but not the least, as I said, challenges and opportunities. I think the challenges are very predictable and very practical, very common. That the data is not available. As I said some time back, that data will never be available. Data is something that we need to build on, we need to insist on, we need to make a business case for having a lot of data, not essentially in one system. As I said, systems are not integrated. One system does not, interface with my ERP, and the teams are working in silos. MIS teams keep on churning out, same standard reports. We don't even know whether they can be used in any kind of decision making. We do not have the bandwidth to accomplish the analysis what we are trying for. And the classic challenge is that the data that is coming from multiple systems is incorrect. So what can be done when it comes to this? As I said, it takes time to build a culture of data driven observations. This can happen through internal audit. This can happen through a top-down approach. This can happen through, a lot of dashboards being made right from the CEO level to business heads level. People insisting on making data-driven decisions. Brainstorming what is the root cause of the data unavailability. Is it really not a measurable data, or is it something that is not fed in the system, or is it really that the data cannot be made available? What is the root cause? We can, as internal auditors, we can extend our role into advisory to build some of these reports. If we possess the talent within us, capability within us, within the in-house team, that is great. Otherwise, you definitely have a lot of good consultants who can do that for us. There is no need to insist that all information needs to lie in one system. I have myself seen how effectively one can leverage a data lake. What is essentially a data lake? It is nothing but data pulled from various systems, applications which work around in your system, which are standalone, may not essentially be talking to each other. But all the data that is residing in all these systems sits in one data lake, and using simple tools like Power BI or Microsoft Access, or there are so many other different like Idea software and so many other GRCs softwares that are available. So any and every such softwares can be used to make sense of a lot of data. You need to invest in the right set of analytics tools, and this is extremely crucial when it comes to talent analytics, because without data, you're just another person with an opinion. I mean, that is something which I've lived by. No audit observation, no work that can be supported well without data. That can be supported well with a data-driven thought, a data-driven point, can go unnoticed by the leadership, by the management, and definitely the decisions that are taken based on the data-driven analysis can help in a long-term and a sustainable business growth. I think that's what I had.
Thank you.
From my end. I am sorry I had to rush through some of the steps because of the technical glitches.
No, that's
but
fine.
I've tried to keep it as simple and as practical, and happy to take if there are any questions.
Very insightful presentation. Before I just hand it on to Satishji for his comments and thoughts, one question which I had, Anuja, is we do a lot of work with both banking industries and IT services. Now, banking, what is happening is there's a uniform credit registry which is being prepared of defaulters. There's a project going on which is being fronted by RBI. So anyone wanting to advance a loan, they would be able to check with that universal credit registry to ensure if that person is already declared as a delinquent. Is something similar to that being done by NASSCOM for recruitments, where you can have analytics come into play? There's a lot of talk in the pandemic of moonlighting, where someone
You're
was
right.
double dipping in multiple companies, running projects across companies and getting payouts from multiple companies. So is there any project happening there where a universal blacklisted human resource database is being created and you can use analytics to run it via the database? So that's just one question from my side.
Yeah, absolutely a valid question. And thankfully, I have the answer as well, because this is something which we have been discussing across, peers. And you're absolutely right. I did not use the word moonlighting, but I definitely touched upon some fraud risk assessment when it comes to hiring, and how analytics can help us curb that, if not avoid that completely. You're right. Right now, there is a talk that is going on across. It is not essentially driven by NASSCOM, but and BGV, I mean the background verification process. Today, every company is doing in silo. They have their own, BGV vendors, and so there is an initiative which is being discussed, being evaluated. If that effort can be combined at an industry level, whereby this kind of moonlighting or this kind of repetitive nature, a lot of times typically fake recruitments is very, very common in IT industry. And what happens is, by the time the BGV report comes and you realize that the candidate is not appropriate, he is already well into the project, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months on the project. So to avoid all of that, at least the basics like employment verification, the educational qualification verification, and right up to the previous employment. So there is some effort that is being driven. It will eventually be taken to NASSCOM or such other body, hopefully. But right now, yes, at an industry level, this effort is definitely being very strongly brainstormed.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anuja. Satishji, over to you.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks, Anuja. Wonderful presentation. As always, I had a high expectation, and those high expectation has been met. One question before I really want to summarize, if I can. But one question I had was that your estimation is a very difficult thing to do. Estimation of the jobs, etc. And is it good to study those jobs which have not given a good margin? Or is it that anyway, I'm sure a lot of people will be tracking, but is there some analytics around jobs which went very well, better than expectation? Does that also throw out some good practices which can be followed in other jobs?
It definitely does, Satishji. So once we have a good database, and then the analytics there is no limit to the analytics. So this kind of analytics is done. High margin paying jobs, low margin paying jobs or projects, if we may call it, projects which are repetitive in nature, which do not require very high skill sets or something of that sort. So all of this analysis actually throws light on how you want to deploy or how you want to manage talent optimally. Because in this mad rush of going on hiring and meeting the client, client asks for lateral hires only, no freshers allowed. I mean, the clients will always ask for these kind of things. But if we have our own strong analytical, analytics done, that what is the trend with this client or with this kind of an account or with this particular business vertical, and what has worked, and if we are able to, and we have done that, we have actually demonstrated how I can optimize my margin by changing the mix of my pyramid and present to you a use case in case of a different client and how that has worked. And then you try and convince the next client, and then the next, and then the next. But for all of this, a very strong internal analytical database should definitely be ready. But yes, to your point, yes, all of this analytics helps.
Wonderful. So I must acknowledge the presence of Shiv Kumar, who I think has attended all the programs here until now. He's from ISRO. And also the presence of Amish, Devraj, Mahinder, and Sneha. Mahinder again is my friend from Bangalore, but I must acknowledge that they are pretty regular in attending these programs. I used to be regular, but of late something else has taken over my priority, but that's okay. But Anuja, I think you did a very fantastic job. You beautifully started by saying that it is the people that create value. And today, as we read, in so many forums, as we hear, they're saying that it should not be called HR. And you very rightly said people and organizational development. And it is the revenue it is the people that really bring revenue. Treat your employees well, and they will treat the clients well. Big great leaders have said this. You also said that what you're going to talk about does not really, it does apply to the IT industry, but it can draw parallels. So I have drawn a lot of parallels given the limited experience I have, because I don't have truly IT experience. But in the retail, there is something called buy, move, and sell. That's what a retailer does. He buys optimally, he moves it optimally, and sells it at the most optimal price. So for you, from what I do as a parallel is, attract the right talent allocation and utilization. That's the move part, and the talent development, which is almost like the sell part. So exactly those three components. You spoke about a lot about doing analytics on certain jobs, looking at what you call the pyramid and things like that. It is nothing like it's exactly like what we used to do when we used to do the jobs for construction. In the construction industry, where there are certain jobs which do well, there are jobs which do not do well, there are jobs which are taken at negative margins with some other perspective. There is a overall, you say that don't look at me whether I'm doing 3% in this job, but look at overall, I'm able to bring 12% to the table, and therefore that's okay. So all your analytics and all the things that you said definitely drew parallel from whichever industry one really worked. I had a list of questions, but I think in the interest of time, it need not be asked. I can probably do it with you one-on-one. The return on investment for L&D, the Lakshmi aspect of what you said was beautiful. The way you put in the challenges, like data not available, data workflow inconsistency, non-integrated system, silo system of working, MIS department churning out very, very standard reports, with some of which are relevant, not relevant, and incorrect data, the garbage in, garbage out, the oldest problem I think we have, that you arrive at conclusions without direct, without having the correct data. And the opportunities that you brought out was something which is brilliant. Very beautifully, you concluded that market is competitive. I think each one of us are so competitive with each other. It's friendly competition, but naturally we need to be on our toes. And the last line which you concluded was, without data, you are just another with an opinion. I think this was very, very beautifully brought out, Anuja. And I think it's made a good Wednesday evening. And have a happy dinner and have a good night's sleep. Thank you.
Thank you, Satishji, for that wonderful sum up. As always, trademark Satishji style. Really nice. It's wonderful. And Anuja, really, as Satishji said it so well, we really valued the novelty you brought today to the session. And thank you and Satishji for your time. Thank you all the participants for being with us, and look forward to seeing you all next Wednesday for yet another engaging session. Wish everyone a great evening, and thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.